What is going on, guys? Welcome back. It is your boy Brandon Groce and Ryan Warner back at it again with another episode of Design Huddle. What's going on, guys? How you feeling, Ryan?
Bang. We're back. We're back.
Yes,
Happy
we are back.
Friday, or should I say Friday? We made it through another week.
Yes, we've made it to the end of this week, guys, and we're closing it off on some very interesting things. We have, as always, 3 awesome topics. And before we get into that, I want to say hi to each and every one of you who are in the chat. What's going on? We have Ryan in the chat first. Make sure to follow him on Instagram, guys.
Yo, shout out to Ryan. Oh, wait, that's me.
Yeah. Sandeep, Ibrahim, Samantha, glad to have you guys. All right, so first off, Ryan, what do we have? We're talking about Nike today. Let's jump into that.
We got a packed agenda. So just to give everyone a little teaser, we're talking about the new Nike shoe design. I don't know if you've seen it. We'll be talking about that. And then we'll get into endless video games for all the gamers out there. And then we know the design fam is strong with the Design Huddle community. So we're going to touch on some 2021 web design trends. I'm a big fan of these trends. I think like half of them tend to be very interesting. We can kind of discuss which ones we think are going to stay around and which ones are kind of more of just like, you know, trendy for the moment. But first, let's start off with the Nike Go Fly Ease Hands, which is a hands-free shoe by Nike. So I'm going to give I'll give a quick overview from the official Nike press release, and then we will get into it. So it's an intuitive, easy on, easy off, and evidence of how design, innovation, and engineering can meet to answer an ambitious North Star: the creation of hands-free shoes. 2021. Crazy. But beyond the shoe's smooth motion is a bistable hinge that enables the shoe to be securely in fully open and fully closed states. The duality allows another signature detail: the Nike Go Fly Ease tensor. The tensor's unique flexibility supercharges an action many might take for granted: kicking off a shoe. Wow, love that. And completely reimagines this movement as a basis for an accessible and empowering design. Very interesting. So I'll pull up the video for anybody on the live stream so you can see it, and then for anybody listening, I'll kind of describe it real quick. So basically, someone walks up to these shoes, they have like a hinge kind of feature in the middle, and it almost looks like you're slipping your foot on it into a slipper and pressing down. The motion reminds me if you've ever gone like skiing or snowboarding and you have to click in your boots. That's kind of the motion that they're demoing. The shoes themselves, they're pretty aesthetically pleasing. Off-white, some kind of like highlighter type colors around the shoe. Very Nike-esque in terms of the base. But the design's awesome. My gut reaction here, very cool. Love that this is an accessible design, and I love that Nike's always taking their products to the next level. Brendan, do you buy these shoes?
I would 100% buy these shoes, man. I saw this. So how I actually came across this, I'm actually curious how you came across it, is Jimmy Fallon's Instagram. Is that how you came across it too?
No, but I love Jimmy Fallon.
The reason I saw it is that he was like, hey, I actually went to Nike and pitched this idea, and then they came out the closet with, hey, we've been working on this for X amount of years already. And then I think they sent them to him as a gift, and with that gift, like with his pitch, they had like little photos of his little pitch drawings of like a shoe sawed in half and stuff. Like he literally sawed one of his shoes in half to go and pitch Nike on this idea. But I think this is absolutely awesome. I hate bending down, which is another problem entirely.
There's no laces, so there's so much value here. It's that you can kick them off when you take them off. You can literally don't need to bend down to put them on, and then you literally just step and walk forward. So imagine all the time you're saving. You can have so much more time to watch Netflix movies.
Agreed. What do you guys think in the chat? Yay or nay to these shoes?
Yeah, I'd love to hear. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of like so cool, pretty smart. Somebody mentioned that they can get dirty quickly from Andre. Couldn't agree more. That's the white heels. White heels always scare me. I tend to go all black shoes, including black heels, because they get dirty so quickly. But the neon colors are super cool. Stand up. So we've talked a bunch about the pros of the shoe. One thing that jumped off in my initial reaction to this is the durability. So you can kind of see, if you're in the live stream right now, the shoe has a clear hinge in the middle where you can slide your foot in and press down. My question is that if you did this 1,000 times, would this kind of remain intact? That to me seems like it could easily break or get worn down, or eventually like the back heel would just be disconnected. I'm typically not a huge fan of tech products when it's like the first version of it. I like to have it go through a couple iterations, and then I'm hopping on the third or fourth version. So I don't know that I get the first one just because of the risk, but I would definitely. I love the design overall. I think this is like the future of shoes.
Is there a price point, or is this just a prototype? That's a good question. All this cool stuff.
The new Design Huddle trend is we show these amazing products, but then they never end up.
And there's never any pricing.
But let's be real. This is a Nike shoe. I would venture a guess somewhere between $150 and $200, just based off of where their new release shoes typically would be. So this is definitely going to be a luxury top end shoe. So. I'm sure they come in different colors, but they're calling it right now in white, Celeste, blue, and Volt, which I didn't know that Volt was a color.
People be naming their... I wonder which one is the Volt. All right, so there's white, celestial blue, and Volt. Volt is the pink?
Volt, I would think, is that like... I don't know, maybe the pink? Or maybe it's like the brown heel? I don't guess it's not brown. I guess it's like more of a chrome. I don't know.
interesting. Yeah, I don't know. Buy or nah, guys? Let us know in the chat. But I definitely think. Is there any more to the? I think that's basically the end of that article.
Yeah, I mean, it's
or is there a little bit more?
They're mostly the press release from Nike was like, "Hey, check out this cool design." The Hinge GIF is going everywhere. It's been very popular on Twitter. And then they mentioned that it's going to be, everybody can buy it. Availability starts later this year. So I do think I'll wait to see people get their foot in, run around. If the durability is good, I would consider getting these. But I also burn through shoes super quick. So again, price point matters a lot. So that's a good question. And someone else mentioned about using these for running. It's a great question because I agree. Is it because of the clicking motion? Does that mean you'll be less likely to slip out of them if you're running fast or doing something?
Right.
That's super interesting.
We don't need to run in the future, Ryan. We'll be able to sit down forever and just be healthy. That's my hope. That's my hope and dream.
Yeah, it's either that or it'll be like, have you ever seen the movie WALL-E by Pixar where it's like everyone's just sitting in like those floating chairs in space because we destroyed the planet?
Yeah. But I think we'll get it there and be like, all right, we definitely need to like have some sort of. I feel like by that time we'll have made something so that we could actually deal with the internal issues that we're dealing with. Like, I don't think being unhealthy is I don't know. There's going to be a lot of technological innovation in that industry, I think, as well, especially with what's going on right now. I feel like there's going to be a lot more money in those areas, and hopefully those the people who have that money end up innovating and not just like doing something else with it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree.
Yeah.
That actually is going to bring us into some web design trends later in the episode where we talk about digital wellness is like one of the most popular trends. How can we have thoughtful connections between technology and our everyday life? So teaser, more to come there. But I think we crushed this topic. Let's move on to endless video games. This is from TechCrunch. Give it a second to load up because I have a million tabs open. And let me just scroll this.
And all those advertisements, TechCrunch.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's dive right into this. So Latitude, it's a startup building games with infinite storylines generated by AI. It's announced that it's raised $3.3 million in seed funding. The idea of an AI-generated story might make you think of hilariously nonsensical experiments like Sunspring, but Latitude's first title, AI Dungeon, is an impressive open-ended and coherent text adventure game where you can choose from a wide variety of genres and characters. Unlike the classic adventure like Zork, where players quickly become familiar with you and you can't do that, style messages when they type something the designers haven't planned for, AI Dungeon can respond to any command. For example, when my brave knight was charging into battle and I typed "get depressed," he can quickly sat on a rock with his head. How does AI know what the good stories is? Said co-founder Nick Walton, because it's read a lot of good stories and knows patterns involved in that. That's crazy. So there's a lot to kind of break down here. The first thing is that they're using AI and also some variation of machine learning, which basically means that they have a system and they're training that system to become more intelligent. And what they're saying is that the AI system, they're giving like a bunch of books so it can kind of come up with creative responses to user commands. So this is like absolutely wild. I am a gamer. I'm not as much into, I'm more of like a first person shooter or sports game. So I don't know, Brendan, what's your take?
My take is I'm super excited about this, man. Like, and you guys know, for those of you guys who are listening, watching, I can't stop talking about GPT-3. It has a lot of ability to whatever. I don't know the recipe of what GPT-3 is. I just have seen and have watched with you guys what this thing has done and what it can do and its possibilities. And I love the fact that this is being done in video games, because we've had like kind of what is not to compare it to AI right now, but if we look at Minecraft, right, Ryan, have you ever dove into Minecraft? I haven't because I keep dying.
I haven't. I know that my younger cousins are into Minecraft, and it's very popular with Gen Z. I know that every generation plays it, but I'm not. I know Minecraft, but I wouldn't say I've actively played it.
Got you. But there's a concept where the worlds are like ever expansive, or they're just made uniquely. Each, I think, every time there's like some unique generation to the landscapes within Minecraft. So to what Ron is asking, are there alternate storylines like in Cyberpunk? This is the thing, Ron. There's going to be infinite storylines. So not multiple storylines, there's going to be infinite. So you can literally make up any way you would like to in terms of how you're reacting to what the story is giving to you. And the video game will give you new stimuli based on your responses. So basically like real life.
So have you ever seen the movie Ready Player One?
Man, that's my favorite movie.
I watched it again last night, so I think this is actually like a very timely subject. I think Ready Player One, if you haven't seen it, whether you like gaming, pop culture, it's such an incredibly cool, well done movie for a lot of reasons. But check that out, Ready Player One. But basically, the movie talks about how you put on like a headset and then you go into this virtual world. And very similar to what Latitude is trying to do, is you as a player can do anything. You can go to other planets, you can play any other games, you can meet friends. Basically, it's like another virtual world where the possibilities of like what you do is completely up to the player. So I think when I read this article from TechCrunch, I think Latitude is like trying to become like the Oasis, which is this virtual world in Ready Player One. So I think the possibilities are really cool. The other thing that jumped off the page is like the first game that I think was close to this, or like an early predecessor, was Grand Theft Auto, right? Like you can you drop in a map and you could go anywhere. That was like revolutionary at the time. But versus Grand Theft Auto has stock or like, preset missions, there'd be an infinite number of supply of missions where like if Brendan and I played the same game and we played it, 100 times, each 100 would be completely different depending on the variables that we give the system. So it's incredibly cool for a lot of reasons, but this is something that is a 2 thumbs up, would love to try as soon as possible. But, like all good startups, sometimes the sales pitch is really strong, but the execution isn't there. So we'll have to see if this can deliver, as I have very high expectations.
But let's jump into a little bit more of this article though. So Latitude, just to give you, because I didn't know this either. So Latitude says AI Dungeon is already attracting 1.5 million monthly active users. And if you guys are not familiar with this, like literally just type in AI Dungeon and just try the game. It's free. Just check it out. The startup plans to create a more, and we have 3 minutes. We're gonna transition. There was a little part, and we'll switch topics here. But okay, let's just get into this. Walton noted that without AI, video games are always constrained by the imagination of its creators. Even when you get to games like Elder Scrolls 2, Daggerfall, or No Man's Sky, with randomly generated towns and planets, this is kind of what I was talking about with Minecraft, he argued that they're really offering the same spin on a similar concept. So it's just, they're just taking like a base and then just adding small unique things here and there in certain levels. Yeah. For example, he said that in Daggerfall, when you go to all these towns, they're basically the same. That's the problem with procedural generation. You're not coming up with unique things. AI, on the other hand, can come up with things with something completely unique. Something completely unique that's so different every time. All right. All right. But basically what I really wanted to get to is this. From a business perspective, he said that this could lower the cost of developing AAA games from more than 100 million to less than 100,000. Man, this is exactly kind of what I was talking to you about earlier this week about, or maybe previous weeks, how motion capture technology, even when we might not even need motion capture suits, to capture motion, because you have companies like Facebook who are literally just, I forget the technology that they're working on, but it's literally just camera motion tracking. I think it's called like Tom or Frank. It has a very weird name, but where you can just track a motion purely just from a camera. Obviously, there's things like Connect and stuff like that that's been in the past, but the very low, all this new technology is making the ability for creatives to do things at a much lower cost. All right, that was my spiel on that one.
I mean, I think it's a great summary, Brendan, and I think this will be something we'll have to watch. I mean, we'll see how it develops, test it out, and come back to everyone. That sound like a plan?
Definitely.
All right, let's transition into the third and final topic of today, which is a big one, but web design trends to follow or to watch out for in 2021. This is a topic that Design Huddle always covers. Brendan and I both come from UX backgrounds. Brendan's much more on the visual design side. I'm a little bit more on the strategy side, but we can do the whole spectrum of UX. So we'll talk a little bit about these. I think we'll break it down, make it as simple as possible. So if you're not, a full-time designer, that these all make sense. So I'll quickly go through the 10, and then we'll dive into which ones jump off the page first. So first one, imagine a physical while designing digital. I think this is highlighting a lot of the things we previously have talked about, but while millions of people worldwide continue to distance themselves from each other due to the pandemic, digital experiences and online communication channels have never been more vital than ever. So this just gets into creating, online communities. So let's move on to the second one, and then we'll come back to discuss. Number 2, frictionless proximity interactions. Usage of personal mobile phones has risen even higher during the pandemic, while our willingness to touch surfaces in shared spaces such as ATMs, gas stations, pumps has plunged. So basically, people don't want to be touching the same surfaces as everyone else. Everyone wants to be hands-free and digital. This is obviously why, Apple Pay and Google Pay have become incredibly popular products during the pandemic. So number 3, design for everyone. This should be a trend every year. This is basically underlining that accessibility, designing products that work for everyone is huge. So the stat here, 1 in 5 people live with some form of a disability. Remote work and forced isolation have increased our reliance on digital tools, provoking an even greater urgency to ensure that the platforms we all use are visually, cognitively, and physically accessible to everyone. So this is I think should always be a trend every single year that we're designing for everyone. All right, number 4, we have just a few to go, and then we'll come back to the top. Break the grid responsibly. So what does this mean? Since the days of movable type, designing on a grid has been the best approach to fitting all elements of a layout together, both in print and screen. Grids have made web interfaces faster and responsive across browsers and devices. However, grids have also arguably played a role in diminishing the unique look and feel of digital products. So designers of the future will have to embrace opportunities to create asymmetrical designs when appropriate, responsibly breaking the grid in order to invent new ways to display content. That's super interesting. We'll get into that. I think this also gets into the trend of folding phones. All right, so let me just check real quick. I think there's 10, so I'll do one more, and then we'll talk about the next 5. Actually, let's do 6 because I want to talk about digital well-being as well. Cool. More than just pixels, design tools such as Adobe XD, Figma, and Sketch have democratized UX skills and fostered a new generation of designers. However, the top designers of the future will not be masters at molding pixels to crisp, but also visually compelling interfaces. I think that is very relevant, that you need to be not just someone that can work with one of these tools, but also has strategy behind it and can understand how to design for different surfaces. And then the last one,
learn how to use GPT-3.
Yeah, exactly. Seriously, that's going to be the future. But design for digital well-being, we talked about this earlier, but the pandemic has really taken a toll on people's mental health. It's been a roller coaster. It's been really tough for a lot of people across the world for a lot of different reasons. So having a balance between tech and our, being a human is super important. So this is going to be continue to help people kind of fight addiction and make sure that people are not, spending too much time on their devices where it's impacting their mental health. So those are the 6. The 7th one, which I know I keep saying, but these are also, I just want to go through the most important ones. The last one that I want to hit on is the rise of the social media mall. This is a very, very compelling topic, which obviously malls, shopping in general has really slowed, if not completely halted during 2020. Social channels will increasingly become the main way we discover, browse, and purchase products. I think we've seen this on Instagram and shopping as an example. All right, that was a lot. Let's start from the top. Brendan, of the 7 that we talked about on this, what jumps off the page the most to you?
Honestly, the rise of the social media mall. And the only reason is because I hate it. It triggered me, man. I went to the store the other day.
Yep.
Like to get food, and I was just like, what are these aisles? Why do I have to walk down the aisle? Why do I have to walk to figure out which aisle
there's a
where?
running joke on Design Huddle that Brendan doesn't go outside.
It's not a joke, it's for real. And I was like, I literally have to walk to the other side of the building to get the chocolate, and then like my chocolate might not be there. Like, I was like, oh my gosh, Amazon is so good. I literally could have ordered something, not had to leave the house, also have it be food or a product related, and have it come to my house and it be the exact thing that I ordered. Not have to leave the house, go somewhere, decide how they organized their store, and finally get the thing that I wanted. So I really think that was something in my mind. I'm not sure if it's the laziness or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you actually like going to the store, Ryan?
No.
Like, I feel like that whole user
There's
flow.
a little part of me that used to. Of late, e-commerce in general has exploded for the past 10 years. No surprise here. I think the main difference is that when we used to go to like, Target, Walmart, Nike, you know what I mean? We went to these hubs. Social media, especially like I'll say Instagram stands out here, is taking basically all of your interests, because they're personalizing your feeds based off of things that you've previously shown that you like. So rather than me driving to 4 different stores, they're bringing the 4 items that I like from the brands that I like all in one place. And then not only that, they're lowering the barrier to entry. So you mentioned like you have to walk across the store to find the chocolate, then to wait in line, and then to check out, take it to your car, drive back home. So now it's literally just like, I like this item, I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to use like, some sort of single sign-on authentication, like, I don't know, PayPal, to pay immediately, and you can skip the checkout process. So you're basically, the reason that this is so popular is human beings innately take the path of least resistance. So a social media mall is just lowering the barriers. There's nothing you can do other than you're window shopping, and then you can swipe your card in a matter of 2 clicks. So this is a totally game changer type experience. This is also a little concerning to me. I think this promotes a little bit of consumerism, and that people are going to just be buying, for lack of a better word, bunch of shit online. So I hope that they find some rails in place so this doesn't just become a place where we see like all of the, junk TikTok products that are pushed constantly to people. So I don't know. I like the concept here. I think there's some value, but I have concerns in terms of getting back to the digital wellness piece. That's my take. But Brendan, I wanted to get your take real quick on how do you balance, you work a lot, you create a lot of content, you stare at a computer, 40, 50 hours a week. How do you balance, your work and being someone that works with computers and in design applications all day with like your mental health and being, in a good state of mind?
That's actually a really interesting question, and it's not going to be an obvious, I don't think anybody has an obvious answer. I think it's really dependent on the individual, and I'm not even sure what I'm about to say is healthy for other people. This is just what I found is
we're not asking
I'm okay with
if it's the right way. We're just asking, I'm just curious on I definitely struggle with digital well-being at times. Like there's days where I'm on the phone way too much. I'm just trying to get your take if you have any tips to improve for digital well-being, or any design tips if you're making an application. Like what would you do as a designer to make it more digitally forward?
I don't know, man, because I actually, and this is why I really don't think I'm the proper person to even be asked that question, because I feel like with that question asked, it's like, how do I step back and have a balanced life? I'm not about balance, like, at all. Like, I'm the type of person where I think you need to have a little bit or like a medium level of crazy to actually do certain things. So I actually push so that I do go into a little bit of crazy land to kind of do the things or think about the things that I want to do in different ways that other people might not. So I'm not about balance. I'm actually about kind of crossing into crazy land a little bit. Because I feel like that
you've had like side hustles for side hustles. You've always been someone that's like packs your day with being very busy, from interviews to coaching and everything in between. So one pro tip that I can give people listening, and Brendan, is it's been difficult, but one thing that I've tried to do is stop using my phone after 9 p.m. It's actually very difficult, but it's helped a lot. You sleep better, your body can kind of shut off. And then there's also apps. So on Android, there's a digital, well-being app that kind of monitors how long you're on like Instagram and like Twitter. So I usually set like 30-minute limits. You can of course ignore it, but it's a good check where it's like, hey, you've been in Instagram 30 minutes scrolling like endlessly. Your brain's just shutting off because you're getting small doses of dopamine. And you're getting that like little hook every time you like or you're interacting. So I think it's a good way to break the cycle. And I think one thing that this article's from UX Planet that they said is that we should design with empathy, respect, and integrity for all the people who use these tools. So it's setting the bar for designers that we shouldn't just, as product designers, one of the goals is to create hooks, right? So you're creating it as part of your everyday behavior. How can you get people to come back to your product every day? Where we're moving away from that. It's like, how can we create quality experiences versus quantity of experiences? How can we have a rich experience that we can do in an effective amount of time that's not pulling us away too much from the real world? So striking that balance is going to be very difficult, but the designers that are able to do that and put the people, their family members, their friends first, those are going to be the products that we use, and that'll make our lives better. So that's my little soliloquy on like well-being. There's a few other cool things that were in here. So we already talked about imagining physical while designing digital. I think this is like takes us back to Ready Player One, is like these immersive experiences. Like imagine where you could, you and I could have a podcast where we're like virtually sitting in the same room, even though we're in two different cities. I think this is pretty interesting. I'm curious to get your thoughts on that.
I was watching something where, and he's got like 1 million followers. What he does is he does a podcast in VR chat. And he literally brings people from like all different backgrounds. I stumbled upon him yesterday because you already know that I'm ready to just like sell my soul to my computer. I'm kind of like that type of person. But like I'm ready to be in the Ready Player One sort of scenario. Yeah. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. He does all of his podcasts, and all of his guests just log into VR chat, and they meet up in wherever in the virtual world, and they just do a podcast session. And the one I was watching was like, yeah. And so I think the one I was watching, it was like Winnie the Pooh and like Anakin Skywalker were their characters, and they were just like sitting in a pond.
Pick an avatar.
Yeah. Actually, let me see if I can find this really quick just to show you guys.
But the thing that's cool there too is that the world's flat, as in you could connect with people around the world literally as easy as possible. So these virtual chat rooms or experiences are going to be continually to get more and more popular. But it'd be cool, right, for Design Huddle where we do a live podcast. So we're, instead of us like talking and casting it, but we're in a room, and then if people have questions or they want to add a comment, you can kind of jump in. So then it's this interactive experience where it's not just like all Brendan and I are doing is basically facilitating a conversation, but the community is the one that's generating it. So I think that's like super cool. I hope that there's more, work that goes into this space. I think it's also a really difficult design challenge. You need people that from a lot of different disciplines to make this possible. But I think like these virtual 3D augmented reality designers is going to be a really popular like career that people start to, go to school with, or start to stack the skills to get those jobs. Did you
Yeah,
find it, Brendan, or should I continue?
I did find it.
Cool,
So
see it.
their name is C. Ramore, I guess. If you guys want to check this out, we'll also drop a link in the chat so you guys can check it out. So I thought this was really interesting. Literally, like I said, they're squatting in mushrooms right here, and they're literally. This is the first one that I kind of found where it was a guy in VR talks about their worst day as a soldier. But this is how I stumbled across this. But he's got a ton, or they have. I don't know what they're. Yeah. Anyway, they have a ton more on their YouTube channel, so very interesting. And I just thought, like, man, let me tell you, Ryan, because I was telling you that I was hiring a 3D artist this week, and he showed me. I tell you not, like, or I'm not faking you out on this. He made a sphere, 2 cylinders, and then 2 very thin cubes. I know for those of you guys who are actually listening to the podcast, I'm like doing hand signs like I'm Naruto or something, but it was very basic shapes that he made, and then he went into this program called Substance. It's a company that Adobe bought, and he literally took pictures of a TIE fighter. So basically what he was trying to show me in like 10 minutes was how he can make a real life TIE fighter in the shortest period of time, and a very detailed one at that. He took pictures from Google of the TIE fighter. He just needed the wing textures, the cockpit textures, and all that. And he literally just slapped the textures on these shapes. And it looked like a real textured... and he moved like one knob. A real textured...
Awesome.
And I was like, oh my god. Like, we're not going to need modelers. And this is today.
No, I think that's the thing, is that people don't even realize these tools are out there. Like, that's super. What, you said it was called Substance? I'll have to check that out. That sounds cool.
Yeah, and I was like, oh my, it's kind of what's built into Adobe Dimension, which is really interesting, that type of technology. And I'm really fascinated by that, because literally, if this is today, imagine 5 years from now, anybody with even just like a creative fart in their mind will be able to just like drag and drop something, literally, or even... Like, I always think, when will we be able to, when we're able to just tell GPT-3 to make this thing, and it connects with these different softwares, and just like makes your own world, just because you asked it to.
Yeah, that's super cool.
So.
Yeah, so check out the link. Brandon dropped it in the chat. We'll add it to the episode notes as well. So just to tie a bow on this, because we've been kind of getting into the weeds here. There's 3 last that I just want to quickly hit on. Fewer apps, more browsing. I think this is pretty exciting that after years of suggesting to customers there's an app for everything, many brands are shifting to focus their apps to lighter platforms such as progressive web apps. Native apps can be difficult to convince consumers to download, expensive to develop and maintain. So people are moving back to the web and developing these rich app-like feel experiences called PWAs across the web. This has been huge for a while. I think this will continue. Building user playgrounds. So many digital services are designed for relentlessly transactional lens, focusing exclusively on customer demand and fulfillment of the name of boosting revenues. But long story short, as digital platforms continue to mature, there's going to be an ever higher bar for quality experiences that designers must strive for. This kind of gets back to the digital, creating digital experiences. And then the last one is just reinventing rituals to share together. So as we've grieved the in-person rituals we used to share with friends and family and acquaintances, we've also created new habits and coping mechanisms to help us make the circumstances better. So products and brands in general are investing a lot of energy to devise ways to fill the empty space of these in-person rituals that we used to have. So you can say, like, underlying trend here is obviously the world has changed a lot since January 2020. A lot of this is about, mental health, about connecting with people in a thoughtful way, about having balance in your life. So these trends are, I think, of the years that we've had design trends, where it's like, bold text, minimalism, like normal web trend tech that always come every couple of years. These ones, I think, is one of the. This has been one of the more meaningful lists that I've seen in a while. I think 70% of these are pretty spot on. The other, three, there's probably three in here that are like, I think a little out there, a little out there, maybe a little ahead of its time. But I think this is a really.
Wait, which ones do you think ahead of their time?
So I think designing, building user playgrounds and the idea of imagining physical spaces while designing digital. We talked about it. I think it's cool. I think this is going to need a lot more engineering efforts to make happen. Like you can design these experiences, but to actually make it, something that actually works is going to be much more difficult. So I think those are just going to take time. But I think the designs will definitely happen this year. So yeah, that was from UX Planet. So that was a super interesting article from them. And then we'll also link, there's a infographic from Social Media Today that shows web design trends and statistics. So if you're somebody that's data driven, maybe you're a consultant, maybe you work with external or you work with customers or clients, this is really good. You can bake some of these stats into your sales pitches to justify why your work is needed. So we'll link that out. There's stuff it gets into graphics, how people use it, fonts and the importance of fonts, visual hierarchy. So it really gets into the basics. So those are some cool links that we also found today. The one thing that from this article that I wanted to get Brendan's take on was this trend of personalized content. So when you come on a website that you've been or you're logged in, similar to Amazon, right? So you go to Amazon, Amazon knows what you bought in the past. You can kind of keep track of that. So, Brendan, are you a fan of personalized content, or do you prefer to have share less of your data but have a more private, experience? I think I personally like the trade-off of being a logged-in user and having products that are tailored to my interests. So I wanted to get your take here because this is a very popular topic right now.
Yeah, man. I'm with you. I would rather trade my information because I think that's the thing. Yes, there's maybe a privacy trade-off, but the thing is that if it makes my life easier, I'm more than happy to share whatever data is needed to make that.
I'm definitely more on that spectrum. I think it's a spectrum, right? And I think it depends on how comfort you are with it. And I think that's what people need to realize is that it's a personal choice. So as long as you're creating options for which so you can customize it to your own liking, I think that's what matters. But two quick stats to share as we kind of wrap up the episode. 54% of users prefer personal rather than generic online experiences. So more than half prefer basically opting in for these customized, personalized experiences. And 59% of buyers want real-time deals on items that they like. So this is another thing, is that you keep checking out that TV that you want, and then it's like, oh, this person's been back 4 times. They keep putting it in their cart but not buying it. Just today, we'll give you 25% off. So then you're really creating this kind of dynamic experience to increase the number of people converting and buying. This gets a little tricky because, again, you might get people buying stuff that they don't necessarily need. There's a lot of dark UX patterns that could happen from this. But the summary here is that people more and more prefer personalized web experiences versus generic, broad, and basically not curated experiences. So pretty cool findings here from Social Media Today, which has this infographic, which we talked about a lot today, Brendan. Let's put a bow on it. Nike shoes, endless video games, UX design trends. What did you learn today? What was your favorite part?
Man, my favorite, and it's going to continue to be, I think just the fact that we're going into more, I know Mike in the chat is like, I want to be able to pick my own tailor, not an algorithm, but I really am a huge supporter of anything that is able to make things just more automatic. So whether that's AI gaming, so you have an infinite kind of playroom to play a video game to your heart's content, it also makes it much more easier on the development side, and thus allows creative people to jump into, lowers the barrier even more for creative individuals to build what they want. And also, whatever is being built, whether it's a platform or platforms in this case, using AI or algorithms to kind of help your user get what they want when they've come into the platform looking for something. Right. Because it's very challenging, even if we're not talking about video games, how would Amazon know without the user data, hey, we need to make sure that Susie and Tom and whomever are looking or tend to look for these things. Like there's static pages where you make the user search and just searchability sucks. Yep. Or, okay, Tom and Sally usually look for these things, let's serve them up first. And by the way, if they actually don't happen to need those things, they can search as well. I really think it's important to always personalize things. So I'm excited about
customizing options too. Or if you don't want it, you can opt out. And I think it needs to be easy to opt out, and you don't have to go through 4 links to find a way to have a private browsing experience.
Right. So I think it's a good mix.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, listen. Thanks everyone for joining. We'll wrap today's episode. We got another episode coming to you every Friday, 9 a.m. If you haven't checked out our previous episodes, go to anchor.fm, search Design Huddle. We have awesome interviews that were done in season 1. We're planning on getting more interviews at some point this year as well. So thank you for tuning in. Brendan, bring us home.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. You guys know what's next. We're about to get into our next version of our live stream. But if you guys want to, as Ryan said, check out more of Design Huddle, links are down below. And also if you're on Behance, it's on your right-hand side. Just click the link and check out all of our podcasts from season 1. So that is it, Ryan. Again, glad we had these awesome articles to check out today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to hit the like button here, and also don't forget to leave a review if you really dig the Design Huddle podcast. So with that said, we will leave you to have an amazing rest of your Friday. I'll be back in just a few to get back in design with you. All right. So with that said, Brandon Groce and Ryan from Design Huddle out. We'll see you on the next one. Peace, guys. Take it easy. Sit there and you ask yourself internally, Brandon, does a place like this exist? And my answer to you would be, of course, motherfucker, that's exactly what we are doing in our Discord. We are the Game Changer. We are a group of designers, artists, creatives that want to take our skill sets, talents, and dreams to the next level. We come together to give feedback on each other's work, give resources, and laugh. A lot of it. And help push each other to be our best selves. If you're interested in becoming the next best you and quite possibly yourself while chatting with many friends, join your new design family today. See you there.